Hi, everybody. For our next session, what's the future of the U.S.-Pakistan relationship? I'm going to introduce my colleague, Hila Rasul Ayub. She's the Director of Planetary Politics at New America, and Ambassador. And Hila, if you could take the stage, we will have the session. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Peter. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Ambassador Rizwan Saeed Sheikh, who is Pakistan's ambassador to the United States here in Washington, D.C. Ambassador Sheikh is a career diplomat who has served as Additional Foreign Secretary for the Middle East, Economic Diplomacy, and the Special Investment Facilitation Council. Ambassador Sheikh was also Pakistan's first permanent representative to the OIC and Deputy Chief of Mission at the embassy here in Washington previously. So Ambassador Sheikh, 2025 has been an extraordinary year for Pakistan. From devastating floods to the brink of nuclear conflict to cross-border military operations. But let's start with the most visceral crisis, the climate catastrophe unfolding in your country right now. Pakistan has been experiencing what scientists call compounding sequential climate disasters. You represent a country that is experiencing climate change in a way that isn't an abstract future problem, but an immediate national security crisis. How is this shaping Pakistan's diplomatic priorities?
Well, thank you, Hila, first of all, for having me at this important, prestigious forum. Climate, as you mentioned, is not an abstract for Pakistan. It's a reality that we are living, even now, as we speak. There has been a sequence, as you mentioned, of devastating floods. In recent history, if we were to flag some important happenings, we could start maybe at 2010, when we had the first of its such kind, or this kind, flood of biblical proportions. And then there was a gap of about 12 years. And then in 2022, that's 3 years back, 1/3 of Pakistan was underwater. So 12 years. But then this year, in 2025, we again had a major devastating flood. And this time you used sequenced and compounded. Mm-hmm. So this is becoming compounded because there were some new even phenomena that we were introduced to, like cloud bursts. Yeah. Because a cloud burst, for the sake of ease of understanding, is when a year's average rainfall takes place in an hour or something. Mm-hmm. So that is what we experienced in 2022. It was mainly in Sindh province, one province. This year it was in 3 provinces. It started in KP, which had not previously so frequently experienced that kind of rainfall, and it is becoming grave by each iteration. For next year, we are looking at an early monsoon. It has been forecasted that it will be 15 days earlier. It could start in mid-June rather than early July. And we hope that it would not be, it looks sequential, but it will not be compounded, mm-hmm. As you said, further. But it impacts everything. It impacts our diplomacy, it impacts our economy, and it impacts a diplomacy which is essentially economic diplomacy in the current scheme of things, because Pakistan, if you had noticed, over the past 3-4 years has been embarked on a change in our foreign policy, posture or foreign policy outlook, because we believed that the same geography which lends us a geopolitical significance also lends us a geoeconomic significance. So we are embarked on an economic diplomacy endeavor. And we are trying to improve our indicators. We are trying to work on our social sector and create an atmosphere of economic security. And in that vein, these floods, with 3 years gap, whatever we built is washed away. And if, for instance, we are in an IMF program currently, we are in the country partnership framework, one of its kind, actually the first of its kind, with the World Bank. So we are, even with regard to climate change and improvement of certain social indicators, if we are borrowing and spending on something and it gets washed away, it is double sort of whammy kind of situation, because while it has been washed away, we still have to pay back. So that is a kind of situation which is being compounded for us, and it is impacting definitely diplomacy. Because Pakistan has been at the forefront of climate diplomacy. We look forward to the 30th COP next month. We played a major role, a very significant active role in coming up with this loss and damage fund proposition, where based on the polluter pays principle, we being a country which is perhaps 6th or 7th in terms of ranking, when it comes to the number of the countries being impacted by climate. But if you look at the population density, we may be the number one country, because no other country which is up there above us, Maldives, etc., has that kind of population density. So it's real, clear, and present danger that we are faced with. And definitely our economic effort, our diplomatic effort is not only tarnished in perhaps a different sense, but is essentially based and impacted from what is taking place around us in real time.
But speaking of loss and damage, Pakistan does need an estimated 152 billion for climate adaptation through 2030. The Loss and Damage Fund has pledged less than 1 billion and so far has paid out nothing. But at the same time, your former ambassador, Hussein Haqqani, has written about moving beyond a dependency toward trade and investment. So how is Pakistan balancing the need for climate finance, the very urgent need, with a desire for a more self-reliant economic model?
No, definitely self-reliance is something which is not a moot point. It needs not be discussed. Ultimately, it is us who has to do it. While even when we are being impacted sequentially and in a compounded form, as you mentioned, we still have to do it largely on our own and find a way. So it's not just one, external window of finance like the Loss and Damage Fund. It's just in terms of the international responsibility that I alluded to it. But if you look at, for instance, the 10-year program, which the country partnership framework from the World Bank represents, I think at least 3 out of the 6 pillars that it has are directly or indirectly linked to this emerging situation that we have to deal with. And in terms of self-reliance, if you look at the current floods, we are now in the second phase, which is basically rehabilitation phase. But in the first phase, which was of relief operations, despite internal pressures and considerable internal pressures, our government decided not to seek international help or international financing, but use our own, ways and means and funds and resources to contend with the challenge that was posed. Now that we are in the assessment phase of what kind of damage has been caused, by these recent devastating floods, we could perhaps look into again, review the situation and see if we need to go out or still use our own resources. But our basic economic decision making, to give you a good description, has changed. It is not, Pakistan is not in a hurry anymore. We are basing our decisions on pragmatism, economic sense that makes sense. We are mindful of the fact that if we borrow, we have to pay back, and continue to expose ourselves to a cycle which is going to cause problems as we go. So if we can discuss our economic overall scheme of things and the thrust on geoeconomics, we are trying to focus on trade, more investment, based on this pivoting of foreign policy on geoeconomics, our connectivity significance, which has all along been there, even in history. We have been part of an ancient trade route. I mean, we are amongst the oldest people on earth. So whatever has been conducted, I mean, not just in our part of the world, but in different parts of the world, has been through us, including the economic activity. I mean, for instance, look at our strategic poise in economic terms. We are basically straddling Central and South Asia. So there is a connectivity significance with Central Asia that we have. We are in between China and GCC. So both regions are perhaps, they stand out in terms of the liquidity availability in the world today, and a lot of trade that takes place, whatever takes place between China and GCC, for instance, even stretching to Africa, has to go through to Pakistan in terms of the most viable option in terms of distance, which means cutting economic costs. I mean, if you go through the Malacca Straits to reach China, it's 7,500 kilometers. Pakistan reduces it to 2,300. So there is this economic opportunity which we are trying to capitalize on. There is this whole set of realm of possibilities that we are trying to open up for us, and by extension for the whole region. But yes, it is these climate challenges and other challenges, security challenges, that keep punctuating. They do impact. But Pakistan all along has been a very, very resilient nation. So, I mean, I keep repeating, I mean, at least it's cliched with me. I'm not sure if others in this room have heard it before, that we are a country that was given the first lease of life of 3 months. So we are 78 years down the line, alive and, dare I say, kicking. So,
Well, speaking of alive and kicking, let's turn to what brought Pakistan and India closest to nuclear war in decades. Ambassador, can you walk us through May 2025 from Islamabad's perspective?
well, I'll take a step back and go to April 2025.
Please.
So there was an incident in Pahalgam, an unfortunate attack that took place, and in a particularly treacherous terrain in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, where 26 people innocent lives were lost, people were killed. And it is from what is called the line of control between the Pakistan administered and Indian illegally occupied part of Jammu and Kashmir, it's 230 kilometers away. So immediate finger pointing was towards Pakistan. And an FIR was filed in a police station, which by any means, and you have to use even mules in that treacherous terrain, is 45 minutes away. If you look at the timing, it was filed in 10 minutes somehow, which is, I don't know, some kind of intelligence, artificial or concocted, I don't know. But still, it was filed and the finger pointing was done at Pakistan. We believe it not only was convenient politically for reasons of administrative inefficiencies, electoral deficits, or whatever, this time to suit political agendas, domestic political agendas with approaching elections. But more significantly, it was done in a fashion which was detrimental to the delicate poise that you have mentioned, peace, security, and stability in a region which is a nuclear neighborhood. There are other nuclear neighborhoods, but I don't think there is such an acrimonious history anywhere else in the world in such a situation. There is not even the high emotional quotient that people of India and Pakistan have for reasons of history and 3 wars that had been fought earlier, 3 full-scale wars. So Pakistan immediately asked for restraint and said that, well, if there is credible evidence, there should be an independent inquiry, which we would be participating in. We were willing to join that inquiry, and this commitment was made at the leadership level in our country, at the highest level by the Prime Minister himself. And we kept noticing that Indians were basically cornering themselves in a commitment trap by doing a lot of chest thumping. And finally, about after 2 weeks, they told us that they had, or the world, that they had attacked some terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan, but innocent lives were lost. I mean, children, women, innocent people. And even the very next day, people were taken, media was taken to that site and shown that where is the terrorist network, show us. And they did that. But then perhaps, I don't know, I mean, there's hardly a lighter side to this thing, but in a light vein, when we were saying that don't do it, perhaps they misheard us and they heard please don't do it, and construed some weakness. Because on the first night between 6th and 7th of May, I mean, their planes were downed, and they found it difficult during the remaining period of those 88 hours for which this conflict took place to even air those planes again. And then we kept saying, seeking restraint. They sent drones. Finally, on the night between 9th and 10th of May, when they crossed certain serious lines and attacked some of our facilities, we made precision strikes on 26 specifically military targets from where we were attacked or we could be attacked. Even in case of the planes that were downed, we at one point in time on the night between 6th and 7th of May had 20 of their planes locked in a high-tech, beyond visual range. I mean, the highest battle that the world has ever seen, perhaps in history, in modern history. We had 20 locked, but we only, as a matter of principle, downed those planes that had emptied their payload on us, on Pakistan. So Pakistan exercised restraint, kept, counseling restraint. And then finally, we are thankful to the leadership of this country, President Trump specifically, that this ceasefire was facilitated. It has still stood the test of time. But again, we keep hearing from the other side that it's a pause. It's not a ceasefire. So this kind of adventurism, which turned out clearly to be a misadventurism in those 88 hours, is not advisable in a nuclear neighborhood. Because what that kind of engagement over those 88 hours did was that, for reasons of Indian aggression, it lowered the threshold of aggression. Without a shred of evidence, without any credible evidence, they went on and attacked an arch rival, a nuclear-armed neighbor. This is lowering the threshold of aggression. And by using sophisticated weaponry like BrahMos, they raise the threshold of response. Because the next time it takes place, we could pick up threads from where we left them. I mean, BrahMos can be nuclear tipped. So calculations, miscalculations, I don't think I need to elaborate. So this kind of adventurism in an area which, even if we are talking about just the two countries, is harboring or housing 1.7 billion people, something like that, is inadmissible. I mean, we would not want to do that again or go there again. But again, Pakistan, in terms of the history of our nationhood, was created for the reason of dignity. We want peace, but we want peace with dignity. So no compromise on our sovereignty, on our nationhood. I think we have provided sufficient evidence of that for the world to see. But in doing so, we have also, we believe, flagged the fact that this kind of misadventure is not, it should not even be construed in that region, leave alone practicing it.
Well, we were all watching with bated breath that weekend. But what do you think the calculus was on the part of the Modi government for getting this to the brink?
I feel that they were, firstly, as I have said, that there appeared, it's not the first time that they did. There have been false flag operations previously. The last time such an incident took place was in case of Pulwama in 2019. And I was in a previous incarnation in the same capital here as deputy ambassador at that time. And I distinctly remember that we asked for evidence. Even the Pulwama evidence is yet to be afforded. The finger pointing was again at Pakistan. So it is somewhat, knee-jerk or automated. There is a degree of automaticity about it, we feel. But this time, maybe it was out of, as I said, electoral compulsions, reasons of administrative inadequacies, that if 700,000 forces cannot protect an illegally occupied region, if the occupation forces can't do it, then they shouldn't blame, people who are at least 230 kilometers away.
Well, aside from just the military security complexity of it, there was also a fascinating diplomatic dispute at play here. President Trump says he brokered the ceasefire. India says that there was no mediation, just direct military to military talks. Pakistan thanked the US for its role, as you did here, and nominated President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. But this isn't just about who gets credit. It also shows very different views of what role third parties could and should play in South Asian security. So what is the truth, and why does it matter here?
Well, I'm a personal witness to what happened because I was contacted on the evening of 9th and 10th of May, and this facilitation by the United States took place. What evidence the world needs beyond the fact that the ceasefire was announced by a tweet by President Trump with a perfect timing of 7:30 a.m. ET and 4:30 p.m. Pakistan Standard Time. So that's the evidence. That how would he know even, or how would the US government know? They facilitated that kind of a thing. And it was not just that facilitation. If you look at the statements that came out of the US leadership post that facilitation, you would notice that there was a discussion of a full-scale dialogue, which would certainly, since you have mentioned mediation, that there would be a mediation which would accommodate all the concerns and interests that India may have, and all the concerns and interests that Pakistan may have in this long-standing situation, which keeps, our generations, our development in perhaps one of the most underdeveloped regions of the world hostage. For it has been there for 8 decades, and it still continues. So it was part of the design logic of that facilitation that there would be this mediation that should and could take place in a third country. And we would be sitting together through facilitation, seriously considering all interests and concerns on either side. Whatever India wants to discuss, we'll discuss. Whatever Pakistan wants to discuss, more specifically the core issue of Jammu and Kashmir, which is basic. If that is resolved, I mean, we can still, we believe, live peacefully, because that is an unfinished agenda of partition, which I mean is internationally recognized dispute under the governing UN resolutions with a clearly prescribed solution. And until that solution is accomplished, and the promise to the Kashmiris who have since been fighting for their right to self-determination, materialized, made good on by the international community, it would continue to simmer. And it should not. I mean, this recent episode has, beyond a shade of doubt, proven that had it not been stopped, it could have been. President has been alluding to it so many times that where it could have gone. And we are grateful to him. Yes, we nominated him for the Nobel Prize because he has otherwise been a peacemaker. He has done it in different parts of the world. But as I said, this is the most impactful piece because it is going to impact, whenever it is fully accomplished, lives and livelihoods of no less than 1.7 billion people.
But beyond the U.S. president, Pakistan has consistently called for international mediation, specifically on Kashmir. And I believe that India has refused. But do you think after coming to close to nuclear war, the international community is kind of rethinking or feeling a different sense of obligation to intervene, whether India wants it or not?
Well, international community has to. Look, in all the previous instances, whenever a situation has escalated between Pakistan and India, the international community has paid attention.
Mhm.
But that attention has been taken away or diverted elsewhere even before the situation had fully settled. So these event-based attentions, these event-based attendance to a particular and such a grave issue, which again, the number of lives, the capabilities on both sides need not be further explained and discussed. If it is not attended to on a more durable, permanent basis with a focused, sustained attention, then situations will continue to simmer this time we have been told that the highest ever tech battle fought in the world history was witnessed.
Mhm.
It is not the old days of one-to-one fight or something, or the conventional warfare anymore. It was beyond a visual range engagement, BVR, of planes 30,000 feet plus above in the air, and precision strikes and all that. So it's no more one-to-one. If somebody wants to watch the conventional fight, they can watch WWF. It's not going to be there anymore, frankly.
Mhm.
So that's where the obligation of international community lies.
Well, the May crisis, interestingly, has also catalyzed a warming of U.S.-Pakistan relations. Field Marshal Munir had that unprecedented one-on-one lunch with President Trump. So I want to talk and unpack a little bit about what changed here. So some people are saying that this new relationship is refreshingly transactional. Pakistan helps with counterterrorism. U.S. provides trade opportunities and diplomatic supports. So what can Pakistan really expect from this reset?
Well, what we really expect from this reset is that Pakistan is a country of 250 million people with a high population growth rate. We are currently number 5th in terms of population. Given our population growth rate, which again I keep repeating is yes, our most credible statistic, much as we don't like it, but it is, we would be number 4th by 2030 or something, and we would be the largest Muslim nation state, which again carries its own significance in a particularly strategic region of the world. And in 2 decades' time, we would even beat United States too in terms of population, and perhaps settle at number 3, because we don't, by any stretch of imagination, intend to counter India and China in terms of population. So we will settle there. So between 2 mega countries of today and tomorrow, from a present and even a futuristic perspective, good relations is not a matter of choice or option or something like that. It's indispensable. It's a compulsion, it's an imperative. So Pakistan, as a nation of too many people, should be treated on its own merit, not looked at from the lens of India, China, Russia, Afghanistan, Iran. No. We have had a long-standing partnership with United States, which has been the most consequential, we believe, in modern history. Each time we have come together, we have not only achieved success in the bilateral domain, but we have done it for the rest of the world. Look at the, Afghan wars, the first, the second, So too much we have done together. And we can again do together, even in the climate domain that you discussed. We are two climate impacted countries. The last time I landed here a year ago, there were hurricanes. So, Pakistan was at a frontline state in the combat against terrorism. We continue to be a frontline state for the world in the combat against climate change, because we are in the foothills of the highest mountains of the world. So, our significance as a mega country is there, should not be lost in any way. And relations building on the long-standing partnership that has seen many twists and turns in almost 8 decades, from a futuristic standpoint, is indispensable. It has to be there on its own standalone merit, void of any other lens being used to look at it. So,
Well, I mean, the reality is that we still have these lenses, especially from the US perspective. China remains Pakistan's closest partner. 80% of your weapon system, 62 billion in China-Pakistan economic corridor investments are taking place. And the US has clearly said and wanted to prevent Pakistan from becoming too dependent on Beijing. So how are you balancing these relationships? Is there such a thing as no camp politics in this new world? Or will Pakistan ultimately have to choose?
I don't think Pakistan, again, look at Pakistan's geography. You name it and we have it in our region. Afghanistan and India, we have discussed. There is Iran. China does not only carry the political significance or geopolitical significance. As I said, that if Pakistan's connectivity significance is to be optimally utilized, then to and fro movement, Pakistan offers the shortest route. Right. There is an economic significance, and that is the lens that if you continue to use lenses, then that is the lens that should be used to look at CPEC. It's not threatening anything. It's facilitating too much in the broader region. And our vision of diplomacy going back to 50 years back is very clear. We were the country that facilitated rapprochement between China and United States, didn't we? And if we could offer the diplomatic corridor then, we are offering the economic corridor today. It can facilitate too many things. So if we were trustworthy, we haven't changed our geography since. If we were trustworthy at that point in time, we believe still our vision, our poise, our geostrategic significance with geoeconomic implications makes us a connector country, like Mexico. It has a contiguity with the United States. It has burgeoning billions of dollars of trade and investment with China. IFIs are calling it a connector country. Pakistan is also a connector country. There is no binary choice for us either or. Our relationship with China didn't start yesterday. It is not ending tomorrow. Right. So it has been a strategic relationship. Our relationship with the United States has different attributes. By no stretch of imagination, we are likely to have 1 million strong diaspora in China in the next 200 years. But we have that kind of diaspora here in the United States. So, that is where it has different attributes, and we could still be, if you have to use lenses, then I would prefer contact lens. Okay. So contact should be made and used. I believe that is something that is the way forward.
Before we turn to audience questions, I want to quickly address the most recent events. There was the airstrikes in Afghanistan with civilians killed, closed border crossings, fought pitched battles with Afghan Taliban forces. Pakistan, and you have said this yourself, you can't afford instability in Afghanistan. So what is the end game? We just had the ceasefire announced over the weekend. Is there a diplomatic solution with the Afghan Taliban on what your government says is the Pakistan Taliban problem on Afghan soil?
Well, if you can learn one thing from Pakistan's national history, is that we always stood for diplomatic solutions all along. So we prefer that. And in case of Afghanistan, over the past more than 4.5 decades, we have 46 years plus since the situation erupted in Afghanistan in 1979. We have facilitated, we have been constructive, we have borne the brunt beyond Afghanistan. If there is one single country, I belong to a generation that has grown under the shadow of Afghan wars and instability in Afghanistan. I have my job when I go back to the headquarters, Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Islamabad, and my family lives in the city of Lahore. So if I transit from Islamabad to Lahore, in entering my own city, my boot has to be checked, and this kind of security situation was never there when I was a child. So my generation has grown under the shadow of war. We have borne too much for our comfort now, but with this situation that erupted in May, and we have already discussed, Pakistan cannot continue to face terrorism from across the border in Afghanistan. There is too much evidence. There is a whole mountain of evidence that is there that it is sponsored by our eastern neighbor. We have been gathering that evidence. If you look at statistics over just the past 3 years, in 2023, we had 600 plus terrorist incidents from Afghanistan, emanating from Afghanistan. In the last year, it's documented even in UN reports, there was a 40% increase in a calendar year. We had 1,000 incidents. This year alone, we have had 3,000 casualties, I think 900 deaths, including security forces and innocent civilians, and other injuries to the tune of 2,000 plus. And we are again looking like improving the statistics year on year. Major incidents like hostages in the Jafar Express, which took place in April, was there. So, this is a fact of life that our generation, our country has contended for too long. And that is where perhaps it's important now, in the interest of regional, broader peace and stability and security, to take it seriously. And that is where certain actions were taken. But as you saw, that when the first opportunity of a ceasefire was offered through the kind good offices of Turkey and Qatar, we accepted it. We still went. We prefer diplomacy over any kind of solution which is based on military action. But if Pakistan has got to do what it has got to do if it goes that in that direction, because we have suffered too much for too long. And now perhaps we will have to deal with it squarely. That is the intent that we have clearly demonstrated. But at the same time, in almost the same breath, we have also demonstrated our desire, our propensity, our proclivity with regard to the peaceful means. Diplomacy is our preference, has been, will all along be. As a Pakistani diplomat, I can assure you, because that's the confidence that I have been given to work with.
Wonderful. Well, we'll open it up to a few questions, but what we'll do is take 2 to 3 questions, and then we'll ask the ambassador to respond. And as you're asking your question, please state your name and affiliation.
Hi, my name is Jack Krapansky, unaffiliated. Ambassador, How do you feel about Ukraine, what's going on there, and whether Pakistan could have some helpful diplomatic solution or military, either way? Are you worried at all about stability that Ukraine might cause in your area?
Well, the situation in Ukraine that has been there for now over 3 years has certainly impacted not just the physical part of security, but even economy. Economic security in the broader region, commodity prices, etc., have certainly fluctuated beyond anybody's comfort in not just the region but the world. So we believe that the efforts that are underway already in the diplomatic domain are well intended, well placed, and we wish them success. I just heard yesterday that a summit that was supposed to take place in Budapest has been postponed, but we believe that with the different possibilities that are there, with the sincerity of purpose that has been demonstrated by the leadership in this country in particular, and others joining, it should be accomplished sooner than later, because again, in a region which is not too far from Pakistan itself, it is part of our broader geography. We are impacted by the commodity prices. We are impacted by whatever happens as a consequence of that unrest and that war in the broader region, which has porous borders. Just to remind everybody. So we want peace, but we for now have confidence in the ongoing peace efforts that are taking place, and we trust them because they are well on their way. Too much has gone on in terms of forward movement. If we would not shy away if we are called, perhaps to play some kind of a role. But for now, I believe it is heading in the right direction.
There's one question in the back.
John Agole from Trinity Planning. Now that you've broken with the Taliban, will you adjust your policies towards the forced repatriation of the Afghan refugees in your country?
Well, Afghan refugees has been the strongest reality over the past more than 4.5 decades that our country and our generation has lived with. At any given point in time, there were at least 2.5 million over the past 4.5 decades. For the past almost 2 years, Pakistan has been embarked on an effort and a sincere endeavor to get them either listed properly, documented, or those who are undocumented to ask them to leave with all the dignity that their repatriation demands and should take place. It was in the context of this current phase of exchanges across borders that they were asked to leave, and a good number was repatriated. I believe, again, this is one area which is becoming untenable. We have to either find a solution to have the border treated like a border, and movement across that border take place like movement across any other international border takes place between any two countries. Because calling it a line or a border, they call it a line. We call it a border. You can call it borderline if you want to. But the fact remains that it has to be treated like an international border for each side to be feeling satisfied with regard to the security situation in the region. Because how come they have the cheek to allege that people are crossing over from Pakistan when they call it a line? Infiltration is, in legal terms, across borders only. It is not across lines. So for all practical purposes, now it has to be treated like a border. That is what we believe. And normal through visa, the regular means, the well-known, internationally recognized, legally tenable means of movement across borders, we believe going forward it should take place, because that is what would make it sustainable, tenable, and perhaps in the broader interest of regional security in particular. And any situation with regard to Afghanistan has shown that there is hardly anything regional what emanates from here. So in the interest of even broader regional and global security, we believe a border-like treatment has to be accorded without even, let's say, in theoretical terms, prejudice to the political positions of Afghanistan and Pakistan. In case of the line of control in the Kashmir region, without prejudice to the political position of Pakistan or India, Indians have fenced their side of the border. So, nothing has changed. We also tried to fence the Afghan border, at least on our side. It has to be treated like a border if we are to go forward with regard to meeting the ends of peace, which are increasingly important, because the entire connectivity significance of Afghanistan and Pakistan vis-a-vis Central Asia in particular cannot be unlocked if this instability continues. And that's the ultimate broader objective.
Well, thank you so much, Ambassador. We've taken you across several issues, but it has been a very busy year for Pakistan, for your office. So we thank you for being here and for participating in our day.
Thank you for having me.